We're joined today by David Bearman, Deputy Director of Sports Gambling over at ESPN. David, thank you for coming back. I hit record this time, so much appreciated for you returning after my rookie mistake last time.
I'm not sure the PGA Championship picks were that great. They were okay, not great. So you might have failed to hit record at the right week at least.
Yeah, I'll just say we both picked Phil. We didn't talk Corey Connors at all. It was all just Phil.
Sure. That's what we did.
So,
Phil. And unfortunately, just like you didn't record, somehow the send button on my pick on Phil didn't work out. So
hopefully they still took everything going, but the bookies. But I kind of want to get back because I know the first time when I actually hit record and you were on, you mentioned the first event you covered with ESPN for golf just so happened to be the 2008 Torrey Pines. Tiger won on one leg. Man, I guess take us behind the scenes. What's it like covering an event like that that's global?
yeah, and to be honest, like I've done 10 men's majors and 20 total majors with ESPN. If you count the senior events and the women's events I've done, this was the very first one, and it's really hard to top that one. I've been to St. Andrews, been to Augusta a couple of times, seen Phil win there, saw Tiger win, at the U.S. Open, and saw things like Tom Watson almost win at 59 years old at Turnberry. So pretty much every major from '08 to 2011 I had attended. And it's really hard to top 2008 Torrey Pines. It was my introduction into the golf world. Other than the other researcher from our department that I went with as his number 2 sidekick, teach him the ropes and see if he can help you out at this U.S. Open, I really didn't know anybody else. I'd been with the company for 3 years. Golf was its own different animal. I had not worked with anybody on that side. So it was an introductory type thing for me because I knew I was going to be continuing on to do more of them over the next 4 years. And to have that be my first one and basically be deer in the headlights to begin with, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what was going on. And to have witnessed ultimately to me, one of the best sporting events I've ever seen or been to, the way it ended, the way Tiger got up and down from the very thick rough on the 72nd hole to force a playoff the next day. And then everything that came with it afterwards. Nobody knew at the time that Tiger had a torn ACL, broken fibula, could barely walk. We all saw him grimace and go down on one knee many times. But you go back and watch it now, and sports are just a different animal when it comes to what a human being can do on any field, pitch, arena, etc. And Tiger's not without his faults, obviously, but what he accomplished that week at the U.S. Open, and think about any of us who've ever had injuries. I've had my meniscus repaired twice, and you think I'm a 5-year-old the way I complain to my wife about how my knee hurts every day just from going outside and playing 9 holes. And this guy won a U.S. Open, arguably the toughest event on the golf tour at one of the toughest locations. And ACL was torn, leg was broken. And I mean, just think about that for a second. And to overcome all of that, to be able to force a playoff, play another 19 holes the next day. I mean, the guy wound up playing 91 holes. And to me, it's one of the best accomplishments in sports history when you think about what he accomplished there and the injuries that he had prior to that event.
I don't know if you saw the HBO documentary they did with Tiger, and I think one of the most cringeworthy moments was when his caddy, Steve, he was talking about that swing he had on the cart path, and he's like, you could hear a crunch. Mm-hmm. And then he looked at him, and this is so Tiger. I feel like it's like a Tiger, Jordan, Kobe type of thing where he's like, hey, man, you should think about withdrawing. And Tiger just looked at me and was like, F you, I'm winning this thing, and then won it.
And you've seen stories after stories come out in many of the books and videos and documentaries on Tiger about how every night, leg up, he had doctors in there, massage therapists, icing it, everything. The guy had no business being out on the golf course, and went out there and came from behind in only Tiger fashion over the course of 4 days to be able to, just look at the 18th hole. He put it in the one location you couldn't put it, in the rough. And I remember watching from the cabin, and I've done a lot of things at ESPN. I've gone to a lot of special events. Been a huge fan as well. Gone to World Series with my Florida Marlins. Been to a lot of sporting events, and I will always remember the moment that Tiger sunk that putt. And can't tell you the entire story, but we're in a trailer at the golf course in the media area. And I had walked a lot of things. We can get into that in a minute. Watch Tiger play during the week. But, the round's about to end, and we're going to go do Sports Center afterwards, and we're going to be doing hits for all of our platforms. So we're in the truck, or the cabin, so to speak, and they have a green room for the talent. So you had Chris Bearman, who I'd barely worked with at the time, Tom Rinaldi, who I had met for the first time that week, Scott Van Pelt, Curtis Strange, Mike Tirico, all of the big ESPN talent for doing golf. We weren't on the air because it's an NBC event. We were going to go do SportsCenter afterwards. So they're all sitting in the green room. And again, at the time, I didn't know many of them because I was brand new. We had a feed that was a little bit ahead of, they were watching the national broadcast and we were watching the raw feed. So we saw Tiger hit the putt and we screamed and all we heard was Chris Bearman going, "Don't tell us, don't tell us, don't tell us." Holy, and you can imagine the words that ensued afterwards when the putt went in, and to see, because you see them on air, you see them as broadcasters' talent, they're human beings as well. And at that moment, they were fans. You had Van Pelt, Tirico, Rinaldi, Bearman all sitting there watching this like you and I were. And the uproar. And again, I had seen it about 6 seconds earlier. And it was just, "Don't tell us, holy," and the place went bananas. And I can be honest and tell you that not everybody was on the same page as to whether they wanted that putt to go in or not. I was a rookie. I was having the time of my life. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So to tell me that I could come back for another day and work 18, 19 more holes, hourly employee at the time, so get the overtime to do that, with just two guys on the golf course, an entire day of golf. To me, it was nirvana. It was great. I'm not going to say everybody shared that same sentiment. People who had worked many of these events know that it's 120-hour work weeks, and to stay another day. I didn't have kids at the time, wasn't even married yet, just was getting close to marriage. They all have families, and whether you're a producer or a production coordinator or a runner, wanted to get home to their families. And I can tell you that everybody was excited because it was one of the greatest putts of all time. Not everybody was as excited as me to stick around another day because you got to change your travel plans. Not going to be home for another day. If you have kids, you got to have your wife to go figure that out. I remember years later being at events, then understanding what type of downstream effect staying an extra day was. But for me, it was kid in a candy store. I get 19 more holes of the U.S. Open. Sure, sign me up. And the next day, like pretty much everybody, like not associated with the broadcast, went home. There was very few fans there because it was a Monday, and we were able to. I walked with them. I literally walked inside the ropes with Tiger and Ronaldo and sat there, and until I had to go back to the trailer to help prep for our post show. I spent half that playoff round on the course and scoring it for back home because the PGA took all their scoring equipment home. So we were mainly doing it and updating the broadcast. It was our broadcast that day. But overall, it was just one of those events that was like a once in a lifetime thing that even though I worked, 24 more majors to start right there. I'd never been to a course like Torrey Pines. We got to walk it. Going into the merchandise tent, it was like, again, I've seen many of them now, but it was like, holy moly, you can see, my flag right there that I bought. It was the beginning of what was ultimately 4 of the best years of my life, covering live events on the road, whether it be, BCS national title games, college football playoffs, World Series, golf, whatever I covered started at Torrey Pines in 08. And it was an amazing, fun time to see how excited people can be and how the inner workings of putting a golf broadcast together when you can plan for everything in the world. You can't plan for Phil Mickelson winning at 50 years old, and you're not planning for Tiger to get up and down from the rough and force another day with a Rocco Mediator that 90% of the people hadn't heard of until that week. So it was just one of those perfect storm type events. And of course you find out much later that Tiger had no knee and he had no leg. And that just adds to the lore of what was a good championship event. Let's not forget that Lee Westwood is involved and others were up there at the top. What started out as just a really good event wound up being one of the best events in the history of golf.
Now, with the majors, what goes into, I guess, kind of because people sitting at home on the couch, we take for granted just everything that goes into it. You said it's 120 working hours for a week. Like, how many people are involved? Like, especially nowadays, you get the drones involved. You have so many different graphics, especially with the gambling side involved. How much really goes into it, like to put in perspective for people who are watching? goes into putting on a global event like this.
Sure, and I can't speak to what it is currently with post-pandemic and stuff, and I only not working it specifically, so don't really see it now. But back then, again, I worked it from 2008 to 2011. You're talking about probably 50 to 75 people working an event, anywhere from, and if you're thinking about watching a golf event, picture all the scenics. There's a whole group of people who are just, they call it B-roll. They're just responsible for shooting the scenics, the blimp view, the beaches, all the local flavor, especially at the British Open when you're going into town and showing what the local people are doing on the coast. Something like Torrey Pines, you're going to see people, parasailing. You're going to see hang gliders. You're going to see people on the cliffs. You remember when events are at Pebble and they're showing everybody in the water, and San Francisco a few years ago. So you have those people who are just shooting the scenics. You have the feature people who are doing stories based on what is going on and then interviewing people and doing features. You have the live broadcast, and the live broadcast is something that's very hard to describe on a podcast, but you basically have a whole bunch of people working in a truck and a trailer, graphics people, researchers like myself, producers, directors. Basically, you need the live shots, you need the replays. There's 5 people all by itself just working replays. That's all they're doing is you're shooting the golf, they're getting the replays ready, and then telling, hey, go to camera B, camera C, green, red, whatever the name of it is, because there's replays to be had, and the slow motion stuff and the aerial cams. And you mentioned the drones. There was no drones when I did it, but we did have the big, huge jib that was overseeing the entire course. Stories on the course, stories on the history, what happened the last time an event was at Torrey Pines. What you'll see this week is you'll see a lot of Tiger from 2008. You'll see a lot of memories like that. And just an entire, and again, it's not just ESPN either. At the time, we worked with NBC. We had the first 2 days, NBC had the second 2 days. A lot of how many people you bring with you depends on how much golf you have. When we then did the British, and we had all 4 days of the British, it was over 100 people were at St. Andrews and Carnoustie and Turnberry, because it was an ESPN broadcast for 4 days, not just SportsCenter, but the actual live event. Like the Masters, we have the first par 3 contest in the first 2 days, and then CBS takes over. You're still there, because even while, and I'll give you Saturday and Sunday at Torrey Pines in 08, it's NBC's broadcast. But we still have SportsCenter going on. We still have live hits happening. So ESPN's still working. But I can honestly say Saturday and Sunday were like a vacation compared to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when we have shows and the broadcasts and then post-game shows. And Boomer, Chris Bearman, would do the post-game 1 hour highlight show that went on at 1 a.m. that you had to try to put at the tape, but sometimes it ran up against live time. So there's a lot of moving parts between features, scenics, graphics, live broadcasts, SportsCenter, on and on and on. And, having done about 20 of them over 4 years, you learn a lot, and there was always something new that you didn't know before. A lot of times we did women's and senior golf out in England. We would do it, but the broadcast wouldn't be until later in the day, so it was on tape delay, and we'd be taping golf, showing the groups, and there's a lot of intricacies that come with taping the golf when you're going to re-air it 4 or 5 hours later, knowing the results. So a lot of moving parts. Having done NBA, college football, Monday Night Football, golf, baseball tonight, I can say with complete confidence that all those things are difficult to do. But what I've seen that goes into a golf broadcast, to me, is as complicated and intricate as it gets compared to everything else that I've seen or done in a production truck. Always tip my cap to anybody who works a golf event. It's one of the hardest and most involved events out there for people to work and do. And, there's a reason why at the end of every broadcast, someone like Scott Van Pelt literally will come out and shake every single person's hand and thank them for surviving like 120-hour work week.
Oh, yeah. That just almost, you forget a lot of times with jobs like that. You're actually there for work. It's not, is it tough, I guess, especially with something going on like Tiger? Do you almost have to just slap yourself around sometimes, so you're not just like watching as a fan and you're like, oh, gotta actually do my job?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously you're there doing live television, you're there doing a golf event, you're working, so there's a professional aspect to it. But as I told people later on when I went into management in the same department, and oversaw people who eventually got to work golf events like I did, or went and worked college football playoff national championships, I would say, listen, It is a job. You're going to go there. You're going to work 100 hours. It's going to be hard. You're going to be yelled at. You're going to be screamed at. You got to turn stuff around real fast. At some point during the week, when you do have a break, because you are going to have breaks, like I said, like you're doing golf and NBC has the broadcast, you're not on until SportsCenter comes on. So go out and enjoy it. It is like you're getting an awesome opportunity. So take a deep breath, pause for, you're going to get a 1 hour lunch. So go walk the course, go watch some golf, go to the merchandise tent and buy things for your family. Have mementos that I have for every event that I've worked. I got another 24 over there. I got to hang up one day. And remember that even though it is a job, it's also a perk. So enjoy it. I remember being at a national championship game with 3 other researchers that worked under me. And I said, hey, everybody stop what you're doing. Come with me. And we went and took a lap around the field. Watch the players warm up. Watch them. It was pregame. Let's just take a lap around the field. You're on the field of a national championship game. You're seeing the players warming up. You're seeing the bands. Just take 30 minutes, do a walk, go back. You're going to work for the next 6 hours, nonstop. It is work, but it's also fun. I mean, it's not brain surgery. We get paid to work and analyze sports for a living, which is, you got to you're thankful every day for that.
Yeah, you can't complain with that one. I guess so. Moving on to this year's edition of the U.S. Open. Early lines coming out. Rahm's a favorite, 9.5. You got DJ 15, Bryson defending, obviously different course, 16-1. Brooks around 8. Is there anybody up top? I guess just of a name that you kind of like with the top tier talent.
Yeah, and I think of those guys, I do like Rahm's chances. You never know what happened 2 weeks ago at the Memorial with the COVID and being quarantined and being pulled from that will affect him. But you also have to remember he was playing the best golf he ever played leading up to that. He had one hell of a third round. He's up there with all the metrics. He's won at this course before. His first ever win was at this course at Torrey Pines in 2017. He's played well there many times since. I do like his chances this week, albeit not sure how the COVID screening is going to affect him. But I'm actually going a little bit past that tier. And I really like Patrick Reed this week. You can get him anywhere from 20 to 25-1. He won there earlier, and it's easy to say, oh, of course, he won there in January. It's going to be a different setup. It's going to be much harder. But the way they're making Torrey Pines South Course harder with thicker rough, Patrick Reed is one of the best short game players around. He's one of the best putters around. He's accurate. He has the game to get it done regardless of how hard they make this course. He's won majors before. He's competed in other majors. He's usually there, and I really like his chances this week, especially at the odds you're getting him. He's a little bit below that first tier, and I think his overall game in terms of, hitting greens, the way he scrambles around the greens and his actions on the green make him a serious contender this week.
We're like same thoughts. Reed was my guy. I had Reed, and I wasn't too big on the big name. Reed, Terrell Hatton's somebody I like. He came back last week. Was tied second or third. I know at the end, poor Chase and Hadley. That was just, oh my gosh. It happens though. It happens. But any long shot, any maybe dark horses you haven't taken too far into, but I know Gitko, there's somebody you could throw out. But
yeah, there's some. I still have a lot of work to do. We're doing a lot of these podcasts tomorrow with picks, so I hope to finalize them tonight. I've looked at names like Mark Leishman and Brandt Snedeker, 2 guys who have played well here before. Sneds actually has played well overall the last couple of weeks, so I think he's a quiet name to take a look at. Willie Zalatoris, it seems to be somebody that can play wherever, whenever. Young guy. He played well here in January, and he's played well at every major he's been in. So I'm going to have my eye on him. In fact, just before this pod started, I had my second round draft pick. I wound up drafting him. I had Bryson in the first round. I don't like Bryson in this event, but I had the 6th pick, and there was way too much value to not take him. Although I'm going to be kicking myself for not taking Patrick Reed. I was hoping to get him in the second round, but I wasn't the only one who looked at the numbers. So I'm in a pool with people I work with. They're no dummies either. I was hoping Reed would make it. He didn't. So I probably should have taken him 1. But with the odds that Bryson was getting and him being the 6th pick, it's hard to pass that up. Believe it or not, DJ was still available. I don't like many of those guys other than Jon Rahm and then Patrick Reed. And I would say I still have to go and look deeper, but I am keeping my eyes on guys like Brandt Snedeker, who has played well there before as well.
No, totally agree. Do you think we're going to get a Brooks versus Bryson this week? Do you think they're going to give it to us, the pairing, or at least maybe on the weekend?
I'm not sure what time this airs. We may know it by the time this airs. The weekend would have to be just sheer luck because how they line up, because the weekend pairings are based on the standings.
Mhm.
I'm going to go out there and say, yeah, I think the USGA is going to give us a little treat. I don't know anything. I'm not giving any state secrets. If it does happen, don't say, hey, he knew. And if it doesn't happen, don't say he was teasing us. I honestly don't know. I usually do know. I just haven't looked. I'm hoping they do. I think that would be a nice treat to have. I know the USGA has had some fun with these pairings before. The only reason why they wouldn't is I think they don't want to take away from the rest of the event by putting these two on a stage all by themselves. But I do think you're going to get more attention from the non-golf viewer. Like my wife. My wife thinks this Bryson versus Bryson versus Koepka thing is fantastic, and she knows nothing about golf. So like she would tune in if that was the case. Now, at the end of the day, if they do it and they play together, the two of them are not going to talk to each other. So don't expect fireworks. It's going to be completely just two guys walking the course, ignoring each other, which we've seen before with Tiger and everybody else Tiger plays with. So even if we do get the pairing that we all want, don't expect anything to happen. It's probably eventually going to be a letdown, which is why maybe the USGA doesn't even bother, because they might get some more eyeballs, but by the third hole, you'll be like, these two guys aren't even paying attention to each other because they have work to do. They have an event to go win. Maybe they comment on it after the round, but I would expect 36 holes of nothing happening between the two of them, even if they are paired together. But I'm more interested in if these two are going to continue to do this over the next couple of months. I want to see them together on the same Ryder Cup team, playing as teammates in an event, like literally not just 2 of 12 people. I want them paired up together where they have to be together. Alternate shot is the perfect. That's what I want, because Bryson's going to have to play Brooks' ball and Brooks going to have to play Bryson's ball. Your alternate shot, one does something wrong, it's going to piss the other one off. So that is where I think you're going to get Broadway with the two of them, if Steve Stricker decides to put them together and have them in a 2-on-2 stage with somebody from the European team, and having them forced to actually play together. Having them in the same pairing this Thursday or Friday where they're just playing their own game, nothing's going to happen. Having them say, all right, Bryson's going to tee off, puts it in the rough, Brooks has to go play that. You knucklehead, why'd you do that? That'll be fun.
I think it'd be better off the match 5, I guess. I know, Phil, you can't take his title away until he loses it, but I think get something together for charity for these two, and they can pick a celebrity, and that would just be, then they could actually at least jokingly chirp each other and maybe just,
Yeah, that's a made-for-TV event, so that would have been fine. But I also think the Ryder Cup has just that extra. It's a competition, unlike the match. It's not really. I mean, it is what it is, but it's for charity and it's not taken seriously. The Ryder Cup is a serious event where these two would be forced to be friends. And there have been stories over the last couple of Ryder Cups that nobody likes our boy Patrick Reed, so whoever's paired up with Reed feels like they have the wrong end of the stick. They're forced to play with him. That would be that times 100 if you get these two together. So that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe we get it this week, maybe we don't, but I want this to continue for the next couple of months, and I want to see them together on Ryder Cup Friday and Saturday as alternate shot pairings. Playing each other's ball would be just epic.
I think that'd be perfect too, because the guys they're playing, they're going to probably pay more attention to if these two are going to fight each other than the actual tournament. They're going to be like, yo, are they saying something? Like, all right, I'll hit real quick. Like, I think that'd be the perfect pairing.
They would be playing partners in the Ryder Cup, which, anybody who's played alternate shot knows that, you need to root for your partner to do well for you to do well. Yes. And if you're rooting for somebody you hate, it'll be fun.
But a lot of golf claps when they do well. Literally just good job. All right. Well, David, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Have fun this weekend. Enjoy. And again, thank you for the insight on everything. And awesome to hear everything what happened was just a historic event, like 2008 Torrey Tiger.
It still ranks up there. And I saw my own team win a World Series in person in 1997. And to me, those are the two top events I've ever been to. A 97 event, 08 event, and I've been to a million since, and those two kind of hold up over time. And hopefully we'll get another one this week.
Now, I know you're a baseball guy, so right before we go, College World Series, who's the favorite now? I know Arkansas got knocked out. I saw you, top seed's gone. Who do you got?
I don't see anybody knocking off Vandy. They have the two best pitchers in the country. If they have any semblance of an offense, if those two guys between Kumar and Al Leiter's kid, I don't see anybody beating them, because you get two good pitchers. it's hard to beat him. You know, my team, Florida, won it back in 2017 because they had actually had 3 good pitchers. It's tough. And what you need to do with Vandy is you need to beat them early and then have them have to use the rest of their pitchers to climb out of the losers bracket. But if what you saw at the Super Regionals comes to fruition and the 2 of them win, then they're going to play and they're going to go 2-0, and then they're going to get to, you know, do whatever they want for that next game. And then you just got these guys pitching nonstop. And you need 3 good pitchers to be unbeatable in Omaha. And they at least have 2, and the third one's not bad either. So I would find it hard to believe anybody's going to beat them. They didn't lose many series over the course of the year. And you just saw how good those 2. They could be 2 of the top players in the draft in a couple of weeks. And on one team in Omaha, that's a tough one to beat. So I would have said Arkansas had a chance. Arkansas beat them earlier in the year, but they went bye-bye yesterday. And Vandy's the 4 seed, so they'll be playing the 5, and then they'll play the winner of the NC State, you know, Stanford matchup. So we'll see what happens, but I don't see anybody beating Vandy.
All right, I'll take you for that one. All right, well, David, thank you very much. Enjoy this week, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.